Okay.
There we are.
Should I refresh my page?
You got it.
Okay. All right.
And there it is.
I don't know what's happening.
just below that screen,
Yeah.
it should say watch together with friends or a group, and you can click on start right below that window with you.
Oh, hold on. Right below.
Yeah, so on your page, you'll see a little video window that shows you and I.
Go to my page. Okay.
There you go.
And, nah, I'm lost, pal.
No problem. You know, it's actually, you got it?
Yeah, go ahead. No.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? It's got you tagged, so you will still have it on your page, and then later on you can share it with.
All right. I'm not worried about it.
Cool. Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, fantastic, man. Well, I'm going to just do a quick sort of rundown here. Bob, it's been a little while since you and I saw each other. So
yeah,
let me pause and let me mute my guy for a sec. Okay. I set this up kind of just to let people know that this next friend of mine is somebody that probably has been typecast a little bit by a pivotal role, a seminal movie in many of our formative years. But he's got a lot more depth than most people think. The more that we got to know each other, got to hear a little bit about his rock and roll lifestyle. And he's actually got more roles than you've seen him in than you probably remember. So we're going to go back to the beginning. We're going to talk about his roots in Connecticut, and then we're going to figure out what happens in the daily life in a pandemic with Bob Romanus. So, ladies and gentlemen, with no further ado, here he is with Motor City Guitars.
That's right.
Right on. How you doing, Bob?
Good, pal. How are you?
I'm great, man. It's nice to see your smiling mug.
Yeah, you too. It's been a while.
It has, man. We're supposed to be on a beach in the Dominican Republic right now, right?
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Gosh, wouldn't that be nice?
You're in Hollywood right now?
I'm in, Hollywood. Well, Los Angeles. I live close to downtown near Dodger Stadium.
Okay. So mid-quarantine.
I mean, it's a very strange world these days. It's like the whole, everything's upside down, you know?
Yeah, I do, man.
And I do well with it, honestly, because I'm a bit of a recluse myself, you know?
Sure.
I like my privacy.
This is a homebody's it's a homebody's dream, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Nobody has to convince you to stay home on your own.
Oh no, I just I'm very happy being here. I have tons of projects to do as far as like house things and yard work and fixing up the house, and so I'm pretty busy, and just taking it day to day.
Yeah, man.
What else can you do, right?
Well, that is the way to do it. Otherwise, you can sit home and kind of freak out about what's out of your control. Right? I mean,
exactly.
There's a lot of futility, So I
exactly.
If you're on social media a bunch, man, I see you chime in now and then on Facebook, and
once in a while, yeah.
I could see people kind of coming apart at the seams right now.
Me too.
It's a little bit disconcerting, and I think one of the reasons that I started doing this conversation with my buddies is just number one, I needed a little bit of structure in my day, and I was starting to see the things that really mattered to me, things that maybe I took for granted for a while. Life got so busy that I was never forced to slow down, and there's a lot of stuff that I just missed really appreciating and smelling the roses. And so I reached out to the guitarist from Flock, and we were just connecting again, and some people chimed in. It was kind of like they were voyeurs, on the conversation. And I started thinking about all these people in my life that I've run across that are really amazing humans that, I mean, everybody on the planet has a story, right?
You betcha, yeah.
But when you meet somebody that there's a sense of contentment, and when you and I talked like in the DR, I could see that you've got this zen about you. And it's kind of a rare thing for somebody that's in the entertainment business, for somebody that has, I mean, you've been around really, for the last 35 years, you've been, I know you're hounded all the time. And and so many people, when I mentioned to friends of mine that you and I were going to be talking together, they just freaked out because to them, I mean, you're their hero, right? Yesterday, dear friend Rob McLean, we had a conversation doing the cast here, and I mentioned that you were going to be on, and his girlfriend's birthday is today on Mother's Day, and he got so excited. Great. He said, "Man, you think I could get Bob to give her a shout out for Susan?"
Of course, Susan.
Yeah,
Susan, happy birthday and happy Mother's Day.
Right on.
Gosh, it's the double whammy. I hope they're treating you good today.
Yeah, you know what he did for me?
What?
This morning. So my mom and dad are in Montana, and my mom just had surgery, and they're a little older.
She's okay.
She's doing well. She's better now because Rob went out. He lives, it's like over an hour drive, both ways. He went out to the store, bought dinner for my folks, a bunch of groceries, and brought her hanging flowers, to put in her yard.
Oh my God, what a lovely guy.
He really is.
That's so nice.
Yeah. So happy Mother's Day,
happy
to my
Mother's
folks
Day
and your people. Yeah.
To all those mothers out there.
A toast. Cheers.
All your mothers.
Yeah. Well, you've got some kiddos. You celebrating some Mother's Day as well?
I got 3 kids. Okay. I've been divorced for almost 20 years. So
20.
Let me see. Yeah, just about,
Yeah.
My kids are all in their 20s now. I got 3 kids, but I'm sure they're having a lovely Mother's Day with their mom. One of them's at home, so he gets to see her. The other one's finishing up his senior year up at the UVM, University of Vermont.
Wow.
So he's it's a weird, he's got to pack up everything. He's in the middle of this pandemic,
Yeah.
Now he's got to drive back to LA from Burlington, Vermont. So a little worried about him, but he'll make it, I'm sure. And then I got a daughter who's 24. She lives in London.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So you stayed in touch with her to talk to her about how things are going overseas?
Yeah, I talk to them all the time. All of them. Good. I have a great relationship with all of them, and they're doing good. They're pretty much on a par with us.
Yeah.
Over there in the UK,
Sure. That man, 3 kids in their 20s. You don't have any grandkids?
Oh no.
Okay, right on. That's why you don't have all white hair.
Oh, are you kidding? I would love to.
Would you?
Oh, are you kidding? Yes.
Yeah. I could see you.
That's the beauty. Are you kidding?
Yeah, because then
you play with the kids all day long, and then you hand them back to the mom and the dad, and go about your day.
That's right, man.
Yeah, kids are great.
I could see you as a real doting grandfather.
Well, I used to teach preschool. I taught preschool for 2 years.
Really?
And then I taught elementary school for 6 years. So I have a nice connection with kids. We have a good connection. I just love them, and so yeah, bring them, more to merrier, man.
I could see that. This is after your initial acting career then? When you did
this was in this is in the year 2000.
Okay.
When I got divorced. When I got divorced, and my twins were 6 and my youngest was 4.
Okay.
I took a job at their school as a teacher.
That is cool.
So I saw them every day.
Oh my God.
I take them to lunch. All their friends were jealous.
Yeah.
I was the theater and music teacher.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I had this great thing going, and then they grew up a little bit, moved on to middle school, and I got back into my acting career. So it was a great experience.
Wow. Not a lot of people get that opportunity to spend that quality time with their kids at that early age, man.
Didn't want to miss it.
Good man. Yeah. Well, let's back up then a little bit.
All right.
Let's go back to Connecticut. You're West Hartford, right?
West Hartford, yes, sir.
You grew up there.
I grew up, born and raised just outside of Hartford, a little suburb.
Okay.
Beautiful little town, great to grow up in. Lots of space. I imagine it's a lot like where you live or where you grew up. A lot of woods.
Yeah.
And forests and open roads, and one little movie theater in the middle of town,
Yeah.
where when I was a little kid, you'd go every Saturday to the matinee.
Okay.
And then you'd stay after, and you'd pick up all the junk off the floor, and they give you a free ticket for next week.
That's good incentive.
Yeah.
Man.
So me and my friends, that's what we do every Saturday.
Was there a movie from those days, those early days, that kind of stood out to you that kind of boom?
West Side Story.
Really?
I remember me and my friends walking home like this at 12 years old. That's the West Side Story.
So you had the acting sort of inspiration, but you also, I mean, music was a big thing for you early on, right?
Music has always been my, well, when my father died when I was young, I was 8 years old. My older brother brought home a drum set when I was 8.
That's Richard.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Right on.
He was living in New York, and I just sort of took to it and played the drums all day long, and that's sort of where all my emotion went.
Yeah, buddy.
All that feeling and all that. I had older brothers and stuff, and so yeah, I got started at a very early age playing the drums. I had stacks of 45s,
Oh,
you know,
yeah. Right
and
on.
they
What were
just
you,
drop one after the other,
what were you playing to most those days?
top 10 stuff. I
Okay.
had all the Beach Boys, all the Beatles, the
Right.
Animals, and the Kinks, and
Yeah.
Gloria, Van Mar. I mean, I grew up with an AM radio and one little earbud. You know what
That's,
I mean? Walking around and listening to top 10.
okay.
Yeah,
Wow. And you're playing drums. And so with the loss of your father, you got some energy and your emotions pent up. And so this is a way you could kind of beat out your angst.
exactly. Plus, I had older brothers, and
Yeah.
it's always down
Yeah.
to the little one. So
Right.
I would take it out of my drums.
Oh man, that people that don't play drums but have kids that are kind of looking at playing drums in that age, I tell people all the time, I mean, if there's anything that you can do to help them deal with the emotional stress of early, like those teenage years, man, puberty, puberty doesn't make sense anyway, right? And middle school and high school is full
Tough,
of
very tough time. Yeah,
yeah, man. As a teacher, right? So
sure.
for me, honestly, my drums took the brunt of all of my angst, and they probably saved my life. So,
Well,
but
there you have it. I'm so. I mean, I admire you so much. That was my dream.
yeah.
But I had a jazz bent
Oh
because
yeah.
my neighbor went to Berkeley
Okay.
in Boston,
Yeah.
and he majored in drums. So he would come
Really?
home and he'd say, "Hey, Bob, let me show you this." And he sort of
Yeah.
opened up my world to jazz, And
Yeah.
so my dream was to play drums for Doc Severinsen on the Tonight
Wow.
Show.
Who's an
And
Oregonian, by the way?
yeah, oh, is he really?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't know
Doc
that.
Severinsen. Yeah, but you want to be
Oh,
on the Tonight Show, so yeah. If Ed Shaughnessy didn't already have that gig, that would have been you,
that's right. And Louis
right?
Bellson,
And Belson. I
and
got
Bellson, they had it sewed up. But that would have
God,
been,
man.
for me, that would have been the ultimate, because I would just surround myself with cymbals. You would never see me. I put on the headphones and play all different types of music and just really kind of dig that.
Oh, yeah, man.
So
I could picture. You mentioned being a recluse now. Were you kind of a shy kid back then too?
very much,
Yeah.
always very shy. In fact, the reason I got into acting, how I got into acting, was because I got a job here in Los Angeles in a restaurant where the employees had to sing, get up in front of everybody and sing a song. So I got a job as a busboy, and I had to get up and sing in front of people. But I could play guitar a little bit, but I was so shy. And I think I got up and sang a song and almost puked.
Yeah.
So I started to take an acting class, thinking, well, this is going to help me get over my shyness. And my first day on stage in this acting class, he had me tell a story. And I told a story, and I got such a great response. And I just started to feel like, you know what? I can be anything I want on this stage.
Yeah.
I can be the lover. I can be the tough guy. I can be the nerd. I can be the asshole. You know what I mean? I can
Yeah.
be anything I want. And I have a great excuse because it's
Yeah.
not me.
Right. You got to pass. Like,
Exactly. And I fell in love with that idea.
how old were you when you took that class?
I took that class, let me see. Well, I think I took that class when I was about 20, trying to think. And when I did Foxes was 1979.
Okay.
So it had to be like around 1978.
Okay.
And so I
But
guess I was 21, 22, 23, somewhere in there.
and how long had you been in LA by that time?
Oh, maybe a couple years, maybe a
Okay.
year and a half, you know.
And you moved out to play music, right? That was the
I
dream?
moved, yeah. Well, music was the only thing I really knew how to do.
Okay.
And I had quit college. I was going to Xavier University in Cincinnati. It was a
Okay.
Jesuit college, and it was kicking my ass.
Yeah.
I just couldn't keep up with them, you know. I'm really not a great student.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I am now
Sure.
because I went back to school. I made the dean's list, but back at the, you know, in those days, I was more interested in life than I
Yeah.
was in books, and
Okay.
so I hit the road, quit after my second year, went to Florida, had a horrible time. Said I'm
Why,
going to California. Huh?
why Florida?
You know, I don't know. I thought spring break's coming up.
Okay.
I'll go to Florida.
I gotcha.
I'll get an apartment. All my friends from college will come down and stay in my apartment, you know.
Girls.
But yeah, but I
Yeah.
got ripped off.
Oh,
I had all my shit was staying in a locker in a bus station in Fort Lauderdale. I had a big duffel bag. That's all I had. It was shoved in a locker at the bus station. I had nowhere to stay. I'd sleep on the beach early in the mornings, and I'd stay up at Howard Johnson's at night drinking coffee, looking for a job in the daytime. Well, one night I'm out in front of Howard Johnson's about 2 a.m, and it's spring break. A carload of kids come by and they douse me with water balloons.
oh shit.
5, 6, 7 water balloons. I'm drenched. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
So I go into Howard Johnson's to warm up, and there's this little guy in there, and he's like, "Hey, come here." And I'm like, "Go away." You're like, "No, come here." I say, "You come here." So he comes over, he sits down, he says, "You're having a hard time." And it ends up, he offers me a place to stay, right? He says, "You buy me breakfast, you crash at my place tonight."
Wow.
So the guy orders steak and eggs, eats his steak and eggs, excuses himself to go to the bathroom, and disappears.
God.
That was one night in Florida. So I waited for 2 more days to see if he would show up, and he didn't. So I went to the bus station to change clothes, and they were hanging up a banner. And the banner said, "Travel anywhere in the United States for $76," because it was the bicentennial,
Oh wow.
1976. And I had like $80. So I bought a ticket. I said, "I'm going to California."
With $4 in your pocket.
I stopped in New Orleans, you know, got off the bus. Mardi Gras was just about to start. And I said, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
I hopped back on the bus and ended up in Los Angeles, where I had a brother,
Okay.
you know. So I
Rich?
stayed, yeah.
Yeah.
So I stayed in his garage. He was getting divorced at the time. And so I stayed in his garage, and I think I was working at Shakey's Pizza.
Okay. So you didn't have to make that $4 last forever, huh?
No. I think, well, you know, back in 76, $4 is, you know,
Yeah. Right.
it'll get you a couple sandwiches,
Right.
you know, and a couple cups of coffee. So
And Shakey's was the first gig you had?
Shakey's was the first gig. Well, the first gig I got was at the Hollywood Palladium, but I got fired because I wasn't old enough. I got a job as a bouncer. Well, not a bouncer, but you know, I would check the IDs at the door.
Yeah.
And I was like 19.
Okay.
And some guy, I said, "Can I see your ID?" And he said, "Let me see your ID." And I said, and they called the manager over.
What?
And the manager said, "Let me see your ID."
Oh.
And I didn't have one, so they fired me. So, and then I got a job at Shakey's. I'd be there at 6 a.m. and I would make all the dough for the day, all the pies, right? And I'd stack them, get them ready for the day. That was my job. And then I was dishing out ice cream at Baskin and Robbins.
Wow.
I've had a lot of jobs.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, you know,
That's
most
an
people.
actor's life.
I mean, I was just gonna say, every person that's in the industry knows you moved to LA, and you better be ready to hustle, man. You better be ready to take every gig that comes your way. And so, as you were managing all these other jobs, you get a job as a busboy and have to do some singing.
That's it, yeah. And I was terribly shy.
Were you playing any music with any bands or anything at that point, or
No.
really? Okay, just on your own. Still a little bit with Rich.
still living in the garage.
Okay.
Or maybe by then I had an apartment, was sharing an apartment across from Hollywood High
Okay. Good.
with another brother who was out here.
Okay.
And yeah, I worked there for a long time, all the way up until I got Fast Times, 1982. So from like probably 79 to 82, and it was a great place. I mean, they were all singer songwriters. It was like, uh, you know, Ricky Lee Jones worked there at one time, and Peter
Wow.
Tork was working there, and
Oh yeah.
Dan Navarro. I don't know if you know Dan Navarro and Eric Lowen, Lowen
Oh,
and
Luan Navarro,
Navarro.
of course. Yeah, of course.
They were both working there as managers and bartenders, and so we were all in this group. And when the shop closed, we'd stay till the morning hours, just sitting around jamming, and
Oh, right.
which is where I learned how to play the stand-up bass, because they had an old stand-up in the corner.
Really?
Yeah, and when someone would go up and sing a song, people would join in. Someone would grab a bass, another guitar player would step in, some people would come up and sing harmonies, and the music was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a great experience.
So you started with drums, you started playing some guitar, and just kind of
Yeah.
transitioned guitar. I mean, jumping on stand-up bass, if you've got Ricky Lee Jones and Peter Tork there, jumping on stand-up bass is not the first thing you do unless you got a little bit of chops, So you obviously had some musical talent already. And
Here's how I describe myself. I'm not a player. I'm a very musical person. I never met an instrument I didn't like, and very few instruments that I couldn't play.
okay.
I play piano, I play guitar, I play bass. Uh, I'm like a garage band. So I'm not a real player,
Yeah.
but I'm a musical person. So
That's a great
yeah.
sort of distinction. All right. So, well, you mentioned all the way up until Fast Times, but long before Fast Times, a couple of years before, I remember seeing you as Snake on Facts of Life, man.
I was after Fast Times.
Oh, it was. Okay. It
Oh,
seems
yeah.
like, okay. When was I'm trying to think, because I was trying to think of my age during Facts of Life.
That was in the 80s.
Okay. All right. What was the first,
it's-
Foxes? Was that the first role that you got?
Foxes was the first thing I did. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And
So from between taking an acting class until your first role, did you
it
get,
was not very long.
did you get representation that kind of hooked you up with that?
Well, here's how that happened. I had a friend. I used to hang out with a bunch of older guys, and we'd all hang out at Schwab's Pharmacy. I don't know if you know about Schwab's, but it used to be this famous place where, Lana Turner was discovered, and it was just this little place that out of work actors and industry people would hang out all day.
Yeah, the soda counter there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So I
that's
know
right.
this guy, and I said to him, I said, I'll tell you what, get me a meeting with your agent. I'll give you 10% of what I make. So he did. And he was a friend. So I
Okay.
went in and I auditioned for this agent. And back then, there was no film. You did a monologue.
Okay.
So I went into the agent's office and I did this monologue. And she said, great, I'd like to, work with you. My friend said, forget that 10%. So,
Really?
yeah.
Okay.
And so I had known, because Penny Perry, who also used to hang out at Schwab's once in a while, she was a casting agent.
Oh, right on.
So I knew her from Schwab's, and she
Okay.
called me in on Fox's. And and I got the job. The director was Adrian Lyne, he was English,
Yeah.
and I got the gig. And it was a complete nightmare for me, because I had no idea what I was doing.
Sure.
I didn't know what a mark was. I don't
Okay.
know if you know what a mark is.
Yeah, you got to hit the mark.
You hit your mark, you
Yep.
say your line,
Right.
that way the camera's lined up. Well, my first scene in Fox's is the big concert scene, and there's hundreds of kids all around, and I got to walk down this aisle and hit my mark and say my line to Jodie Foster. Well, I kept missing my mark, like 28 takes. I had the director yelling at me. I put everybody on overtime. I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm never going to get through this. finally got through it. And then my next scene, which was a few days later, before I did it, the director came into the trailer and he's like, he called me Scott because that was the character's
Oh
name.
yeah, okay.
And he's like, all right, Scott, I know you can do it. I saw you do it in the audition.
Oh, he was there for your monologue when you first came into the audition?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. And he's like, trying to give me a pep talk.
Yeah, confidence
But
builder.
that day went really good. And there you have it. I was on my way.
Wow. I was thinking about when you first did your audition for the agency too, when you went in, you had to have a lot of confidence. When you think about those early roles, they were all about ultra confidence, right? I mean, you think about, like your Damone character, there was no tentative bone in your body, right? So was that kind of your persona even going into these earlier stages? Did you come out just like swinging, going, hey man, I got this thing?
It's the total opposite of what I am.
Sure. Well, I
You
mean,
know what I mean? And
that's
so,
acting.
yeah. And so, I guess each role kind of dictates how I approach it,
Yeah.
And I couldn't even tell you where that comes from, that kind of confidence thing,
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's a kind of a thing you got to kind of absorb, get into, and it comes out like that. But it's not, it's not something that I'm like, I'm not Tom Cruise.
Right.
Tom Cruise
Bravado.
walks into a room,
Right. Yeah.
he owns that room,
Right.
That is not me. And so.
I think that was one of the things that really stood out to me, to be honest with you.
Huh.
I mean, in my sort of experience with musicians and actors, the people that I resonate with have that kind of energy. They still light up the room, but it's a different thing. It's not an intentional act, and this, the whole idea behind the conversations I'm having here with my buddies is to share this, I think, my appreciation for people's like real character and heart, because right now, especially in the pandemic, like I said, people are kind of coming apart at the seams. There's a lot of uncertainty and anxiety with people. And when, I don't know, I'm really feeling blessed that a whole bunch of people that I've met have a true authenticity that I love to be able to share with people. People that think they might know who Robert Romanus is from their Damone character. Once they get to meet you, and this is not me kissing your butt, man. I really felt like this is a guy that I want to hang out with, man. I really like who he is, And my pal Mike May was there too, and he said,
"I remember Mike. Sure,
Mike, yeah, man. Mike and I were both saying, what a blessing, what a breath of fresh air." And there were other actors and actresses that were there that are really fun, and they become buddies too. But I've met a lot of people in the industry that still can't get over themselves. That whole, I mean,
of course,
it's a competitive industry, and it's the same. It's the same in music. The people that really stand out to me, they're genuine. They share, the camaraderie you can have is instantaneous, and so I love the fact that if you say that, this persona wasn't something that was intentional, that this is you put on the acting face and this is go out and get the role.
Yeah.
You think Adrian Lynn's sort of pep talk, do you think that kind of helped supercharge your?
Well, what it did was, because I was really embarrassed about what had happened,
Yeah.
And so I have all this in my head going into this scene. And so it was really nice of him and maybe smart of him to come in and put my fears to rest that nobody likes me.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? I'm thinking everybody's thinking, oh no, here comes Romanus,
right.
And he's in there saying, no, I know you can do it. I saw you do it. I like what you do. So let's just go in and do it,
Yeah.
and that kind of, what it does is it kind of puts all that other nonsense to the side so you can go in and focus on what you want to do.
Yeah, like a little bit of damage control on his part, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
and Foxes does well. That was an earlier Jodie Foster role too, so it kind of helped propel her.
I love that. That was her first screen kiss, I think.
Really?
Well, maybe Sweet 16 kiss. She had just turned 16.
Wow.
And I like that movie because my favorite thing about that movie, beside the fact that Cherie Curie was
Yeah.
in it, it was her first film.
Okay.
Uh,
Runaways.
yeah,
Yeah.
is that it really represents the valley.
Yeah.
This is the San Fernando Valley in the 70s. If you watch the film, you get the grittiness of the valley, and then you come over the hill onto Hollywood Boulevard, and really captures a time, and I think it captures it really well.
Okay.
If you want to know what Los Angeles, the Valley, and Hollywood was like in the 70s, that's a true story.
Foxes is.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah.
I need to go back. I mean, it's been 30 years since I've seen it.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it doesn't, it doesn't present itself often. You got to kind of hunt it down.
You bet.
But yeah, it was the writer was Gerald Ayres,
Okay.
and his daughter and her three friends had that experience, and he wrote about it.
Wow. Okay. That's so that was 79.
Yes.
You had a couple of other roles in between that and Fast Times, right? Anything
I don't think I did.
Really?
Because
no TV or anything?
Here's how it happened. No.
Okay.
I did Foxes. I think it'd been like 2 years since I worked, right? I didn't have an agent. And my mother came to visit.
Okay.
And I said, "What do you want to do, Ma?" She said, "Let's go to Schwab's," because she'd heard about it her whole life. So I take her to Schwab's, and we're sitting down, we're having breakfast. And this guy walks in. Now, HBO had just started, right?
Okay.
And one of the movies they were showing was Foxes. So I'm sitting there having breakfast with my mother. And this guy walks in, he looks at me, he says, "Hey, I saw you on TV last night. It was pretty good." I said,
Nice.
"Oh, thanks." He says,
"You like a hero?"
Yeah. No,
yeah, Mom.
Yeah, exactly. He said, "Do you have an agent?" I said, "No." He said, "Would you like one?" I said, "Sure." So I went to his office, which was a little office down on Melrose. He was just his own guy. He didn't even have a secretary. He had a phone machine. That was his secretary. And I think the third audition he sent me out on was Fast Times.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Wow. Was that originally going to be the Damone role?
What do you mean?
Did you try casting for other or reading for other roles? It was just Mike Damone. That was it.
I went in the first time I went in. It was Amy Heckerling. She was there.
Okay.
And the director. And when I left, she looked at me and she said, "Don't cut your hair."
Okay. You had the hair already going on.
Yeah. So I thought, hey, must have gone good,
Yeah.
So a week went by, I didn't hear anything. And I figured, well, I guess I didn't get it. And then I got a call. They want to see you again. Great. So I go back in. I read a couple scenes. I leave. Amy's like, I didn't hear anything for a week. I figure out, I guess I didn't get it. And then I get a call. They want to see you again. This happened 7 times, 7 weeks.
Oh my God.
And each time I went in, they wanted more and more. I finally, by the last time I went in, Amy had me gone to makeup and wardrobe. I had done improvs, and I had done every scene in the script. And when that was over, Art Linson, who was the producer, was also in the room. And I looked at him and I said, I really like this. And I think I could do a really nice job. But I'm not going to come back again.
Okay.
And right there, the producer said, "Welcome aboard."
Wow.
And what I found out was that Art Linson kept thinking I was too old.
Really?
He thought I looked too old. And Amy thought I was really right for the part. So finally, in the end, they cast me and changed my life.
Wow. Yeah. That obviously, I mean that sort of was the kickoff for a life-changing moment for sure. I mean, from that point till now, I would guess, and I don't want to put this out there, but other people that I've known that have been had pivotal roles in that era are largely found doing conventions, a lot of these sort of 80s centric, sort of opportunities to meet entertainers.
Sure, man. Yeah.
Would you say that's a big, huge part of your life right now?
I wouldn't say it's a huge part of my life. I do it. I don't do a lot of conventions. I might do one a year.
Okay.
I love the Punta Cana thing. I mean, that's like winning a game show. It's like, hey, for 6 days and 6 nights, you get all-inclusive ride, and and it's like, oh my God, and you can bring your girlfriend,
Right.
So it's really like winning a game show. I love that, and the people are all so nice, So
fans and the people that put it together. I mean, Steve Robinson.
Everybody.
Yeah,
Steve Robinson. Go ahead.
We're going to have a conversation I think in about a week, because they're moving everything right to Mexico this next October. And
well, give him my best, man. I just love him.
He loves you too, man.
He's a good man,
Yeah, but the convention thing, most people that are in that, the industry, that's kind of like their bread and butter. That's what they're out there doing most of their, hustling.
Here's the thing about the conventions. If you're in a sci-fi, if you've done a sci-fi movie or horror movies or things like that, there's a convention every week.
Right.
For what I've done, like Comic-Cons aren't good for me, because people don't go to Comic-Cons really to see actors, even though they do that. They have actors there, So autograph shows specifically, like Chiller, back east, they have that in New Jersey. And if I do one a year, that's pretty good for me,
Cool.
I would do a few more, but they're just not that lucrative for me.
Yeah, sure. Like the only reason I kind of even brought those up was because I was thinking about Robert getting inundated with all the Damone, like everybody wants to joke about concert tickets and, and everybody wants to hear about the 5-point plan. Right. And so, do you still have people coming up all the time hitting you up for those things?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
All the time,
Does it bug you or do you enjoy it?
I don't not enjoy it. It doesn't bug me.
Okay.
But say at a convention or something, after the second or third day, you get a little tired.
I bet. Yeah.
I mean, I love people who, I get starstruck.
Do you?
Oh God.
Yeah.
I see the lady from the phone commercial. I'm like, oh my God, So I get it. I do get that, And when I was a young kid, I came to California in the '60s for a visit, and I met Barbara Feldon from Get Smart. I don't know if you remember that show.
Yeah, of course.
She was a hottie, man. I was like 12 or 13, and I was
hitting puberty.
And I couldn't even speak, and so I get that. And so, if that makes somebody happy, and because I did that, and they want to come up and say hi, and I say hi, and it makes them, they're like, hey, I just met this guy,
Right. Yeah.
I love that. That's great. You can get a little tired of it in great bunches.
Yeah. Yeah. But you see people kind of take that for granted. A lot of times, they're just, if they just, it's not that people are pretentious, but they get caught up in their own time and their own, they kind of forget the fact that if it weren't for those people out there supporting you, you wouldn't be presented these opportunities, So
some people are like that. I don't like to meet, I really don't like to meet celebrities, especially celebrities that I like.
Yeah.
When I really like their work, I don't want to meet them. I'd much rather admire your work from afar than to learn you're an asshole.
Right.
And never be able to watch your movies again.
Yeah. So, it does change.
It does.
Yeah, man. Well, do you feel like, I want to avoid making this feel like an interview per se, because I know that you get asked about Fast Times all the time, and there are seminal moments in that changed my life for sure. I was hitting puberty, and the idea of connecting with girls. I just met my girlfriend about that same time that ended up my wife for 28 years, and she's listened to the podcast
Oh
here.
my
Hey,
gosh.
Jen Rankin. Yeah, we actually we took her out for Mother's Day earlier today. We were
Oh,
chatting.
fabulous. Happy
But
Mother's Day.
yeah, man, she's an amazing mom and a really wonderful human. But we were together, right, when Fast Times came out and roller skating to all those iconic songs. And
Sure.
she is one that doesn't get starstruck. We've met so many people over the years, and she just recognizes that we're all the same underneath, right? And I appreciate that. But she also had seen a lot of people that were influential early on that were really, really great to us. And that was encouraging. I think that helped her sort of stay even keeled. She didn't get to meet a lot of the assholes that I did, and so I try not to get jaded, by the people that are offensive. But I think the Fast Times role that you had really sort of, it gave young teenage boys a glimpse at developing confidence in order to talk to girls without feeling so uncomfortable. But it's also this false bravado, right? Because
that's amazing to me.
Really. I mean, and then you find out, you don't want to be the guy that walks out on his girlfriend after knocking her up, and it was a tough role, but it was also real. I mean, it's real life stuff that people had to deal with, so teenage pregnancies and
right.
all those really uncomfortable things that you may not have thought about having such an impact on people then when you did the role. But man, everybody's life was sort of changed after watching that movie. And it wasn't just Spicoli and the stoner vibe,
It's hard to imagine, but it's true. It's the story behind the story, right?
Right.
Cameron Crowe wrote the book,
That's right.
went back to high school when he was 22 years old and didn't tell anybody, and enrolled as a senior, and spent the year hanging out with these kids. And I remember on the set, he told me one day, he said, we were having pizza. I think, it's been so many years and the stories are all jumbled, but I think he told me on the set, we're sitting talking. He said, yeah, I'm sitting having pizza with everybody after school. And this guy, he starts going off on the 5-point plan. What you need is my 5-point plan.
Really?
Never let on how much you really like a girl. He said, I ran into the bathroom and wrote it down on a napkin. So the things that the characters were saying are really right out of the mouths of teenagers.
Yeah.
And they're the same themes that it doesn't matter what decade you're in. They're the same themes. The guy's looking for jobs, trying to make money so he can fix up his car. The one guy's trying to figure out how to get, how to deal with women, and other guys trying to be cool. I mean, these are the same themes all the time. And so I think that's why it resonated, because it really came out of the mouth of babes.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's a major connection that people make from Cameron Crowe films because of that authenticity,
Yeah, he's a good writer, boy.
What was next for you then? I mean, Fast Times probably just, became a trajectory for you where everybody recognized you and getting roles left and right.
I'll tell you, it was weird. I'm not sure I was quite ready for it. I literally, I remember I was walking down the street with Sean Penn one day. We're in Westwood walking down the street, and this crowd of people came up, and they're all like, oh my God, you were Damone, and Sean's right here.
Oh, blowing him off.
Nobody's saying anything to Sean because he doesn't even look, he doesn't look like Spicoli.
Right.
And it was like really weird for me, and then I'd be like, I'd walk into a restaurant and, just people would be aggressive, and I wasn't quite ready for it, but I constantly worked after it. I didn't get some of the roles that I went up for that I would have liked to have had. I really kind of went back to my class and just sort of buried my head in playwrights and plays and studying. And in the meantime, I had done a couple years on a soap opera. I'd done, a few different movies. I'd done Fame for like 3
That's right.
years,
Oh, yeah.
I did Facts of Life and
Right.
Booker, and I was constantly working through the '80s into the '90s up to around the 2000, and then it kind of slowed down a little bit, and that's when I started, was getting divorced, and I started working as a teacher. Got into that, and
You went back to school to get your education degree?
I went back to, I just
Okay.
studied at Valley College,
Mhm.
and got a degree in child development.
Okay.
And because I was interested. My
Yeah.
kids were babies. So I'm studying about babies at the time I have babies,
Yeah.
and all the development and all that. And then I started working in the school with them and coaching their teams. And, it was really a great decade for me. I
I bet.
loved it. I
Yeah.
loved being around my kids. And I grew up without a father. So maybe that had something to do with it, that I didn't want to not be there. I didn't want to be
Yeah.
divorced and you spend a week here and then you spend a week there. And I didn't want to do that.
You
I
bet.
said, you stay at your house. That's your mom. This is our house. You stay there. I have an apartment down the street. I'm your teacher. I'm here every day.
And they were
So
close by there too. So that's great.
absolutely, yeah.
Cool.
So, and then when they started getting a little older, and I couldn't teach soccer anymore because I don't know much about it.
Yeah.
But beyond the everybody go this way, I don't know
Right.
much about it. But I'm a huge fan. I'm really
Okay.
sorry too. I'm so sad because I'm like, hey, pandemic, we all have to stay inside and watch sports.
Right.
I can't.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You have to watch old reruns of the old
Yeah,
soccer matches.
I'm
Yeah.
watching Korean baseball,
Yeah. Probably seems pretty good right now, right?
Hey, it's good. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I watched UFC last night with no audience. It's like you can hear everything. It's
Wow.
like, brutal,
Yeah.
man.
It's
So I'm sorry.
no. I was just thinking, because you talk about being there with your kids at that
Yeah.
point. For me right now, the pandemic allows me to be with my boys all the time. I've got two boys, 21 and 18.
Oh
And
my gosh.
it's a blessing, man. Honestly, the silver lining in it for me is that, we live close to a lot of like wooded areas, and we take my pug out, and get time that we wouldn't have had together, And so for
Yeah,
me, this is kind of that opportunity that I'm getting that you have, and your kids are younger.
it's
I
true.
really, I love it.
Get it while you can, man. Whenever
Yeah.
you can, while you can, and this is a great opportunity because there's nothing to do but
I'm not
hang
out.
out with,
Exactly. They might not want to see me around all the time, but I love it, so
Well, you get it when you can. That's all I
right.
say. No.
So you started teaching their school, and
Yeah, I
then you
started
moved.
teaching.
They got a
And
little older.
they got a little older. I started a program I got a job. I got a job working at a school for kids with behavioral problems who were thrown out of the LA school system, and they wanted me to come in after school and do some acting things with them. Right. So I did that after about the third week, and these guys they're tough.
Yeah.
They're like, fuck you,
Right.
I'm like, well, we're gonna emote today. It's like, fuck you,
Right. Yeah.
and so I was literally gonna, the day I was gonna go in and tell the principal, I was gonna say, look, man, this is not working. They don't listen to me. They, have no respect. But I was talking to a friend of mine. He says, you ought to bring in a video camera. So that day I brought in a video camera and I put it down on the desk, and one by one, they walk in the room and they see the video camera. They're like, hey man, you want to make a movie? I could be a big star. Next thing you know, we're all working together and we're making movies on a little video camera. And these are gang members, criminals, drug addicts, alcoholics, and they're, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, right?
With no other purpose at that point.
And no, they have no direction.
Right.
There's no
Yeah.
direction home, and there's no family to help them,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
So and they're kids who were told they couldn't work in a class with other people. So these are classes with maybe 10 kids in each class, and each kid is working on a different thing.
Okay.
So they're not all working on one subject. He's doing math, she's doing science, you know what I mean, in one
Yeah.
room. So I got them all to work together making a movie, right?
Wow.
Because there's so many aspects of it that if you're shy, somebody's too shy, they don't want to be in front of the camera. Well, you help me with the costumes, or you help me with the sets, or let me show you're going to run the camera,
Yeah.
or you're going to help write the story. So everybody can be involved.
You bet.
And, then there's the guys that put me in front of the camera,
Yeah.
So, and we spent a year I didn't censor them at all. Make whatever you want.
Awesome.
They made little commercials. They made movies. They would take, if they get stuck for an idea, I'd say, okay, Jack and the Beanstalk, let's make a modern version. Okay. So we'd come up with some ideas, and, it was a great program. We got some great film. And then they closed the school down because in Los Angeles or in California, students used to get paid. Schools used to get paid per student.
Right.
And then they changed it to schools got paid per attendance. And these kids never showed up for class.
Right.
So the school never got any funds. So they ended up closing it down. But I brought that program to the little kids.
Oh, yeah.
So now I'm making movies with second graders. What do you want to make a movie about? Aliens chasing gum chewers.
Yeah.
Love it. Let's do it. Where are we going to get a spaceship? There's that thing in the playground. I love it. Let's shoot it. And so I spent, 3 years, I think, making movies with these kids. Just like in real life, I'd take half a class, which would be like 10 kids.
Okay.
And I'd say, let's break a story. Okay. What are we going to, well, how about, what was Martin Luther King like when he was a little kid? Okay, so Martin Luther Kid, that's our story,
Nice.
and so it became a really amazing, fun 10 years of my life,
Yeah, imagination at that point is so special, right? These
Oh.
kids, there's no limit to the imagination, right? So they talk about aliens chasing gum chewers. To them, that's as real as anything else, right?
Exactly, and they have a wonderful imagination, and that's the thing about acting too. As a kid, if I said, "Okay, you're the king and you're the queen," next
Right.
thing you know, you jump right. As an adult, you're the
Right.
king. King. What does
Right.
the king do? What does a king do? You know what I mean? It's very different. But kids, they just dive right in.
Yeah.
It was fabulous, And then I get popcorn, and we'd sit and we'd watch all the movies at the end of the semester.
That's cool.
It was fabulous.
Oh man, I want to take your class.
Yeah, it was really great. And
you did that for 10 years?
well, let me see. It was I did 2 years in preschool without filming. Then I did 1 year at that school with the kids where I developed that program. And then I was 7 years working in the elementary school. So yeah, probably about 4 or 5 years doing that.
That year with the at-risk students, do you stay in touch with any of those kids now? Have you talked to them at all?
No. In
Okay.
fact, I ran into one who was working at a Starbucks.
Did you
a couple
recognize him?
years ago. I recognized him immediately. He
Yeah.
recognized me, and we had a good relationship. He was an arsonist.
Okay.
I hope he's not watching this. But he had a lot of problems. But he seemed to be doing all right. He was working he also had ADHD. He couldn't sit
Right.
still. He was like all over the place, and he seemed to be doing pretty good. One of the girls in the program, we wrote a letter from the school and myself to the Fashion Institute in Los Angeles because she had a real flair and she was doing the costumes and everything. So she was accepted into the Fashion Institute, and I don't know what happened. Hopefully she got through it, and
Man.
the other kids I don't have. They're lost. They're lost, and and they don't have really any influences in their life, you know.
You know, it's tough to know, right? I mean, if you haven't had contact with them, I know for sure. I mentioned my ex-wife Jen and I both worked. She was child development specialist, human and
Oh
family
gosh.
development, and sociology for me. That was my degree.
Oh, no kidding.
We worked in a facility that was at-risk youth, you know, juvenile delinquent,
Yeah.
and so juvenile justice would put half the kids there, and half were neglected and abused kids, right? So
Huh.
one facility, one residential home, split with offenders and victims of this, and
Wow, that's weird.
one of them, the sweetest gal, man, she had such a rough childhood. She's watching our cast right now, and
Ah,
I love that they've come back out, reached out. We found them through social media, and it's
fabulous.
amazing. Not because
That's
of us,
cool.
but we had, for me, I was, in my early 20s going to college, and I just knew that these people had a spark. And I love seeing where they've come to, what they've come to now. You might
That's
be
great.
surprised that the impact that you had on those kids for that year, you may have been the only person taking a chance on them, you know, and there's no
Yeah,
way they're forgetting about you, you know. So
I hope so. You
yeah,
know,
you know, and obviously you've touched people in a lot of, but in that way, far beyond that too. I tell me about, you know, post teaching, because I know music has still been kind of a part of your life along the way too, during that time.
I've never stopped. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're playing in bands this whole time while you're doing all the acting.
Well, not in bands. I have a songwriting partner, Steve Feldman,
Okay.
and our band is called Poppa's Kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And it started right around the time of my divorce. And we decided we get together twice a week, every Tuesday and Friday. And it started out like therapy, you know.
Yeah.
We'd set up the studio and we'd just do one take. I'd lay down a drum track, and then he'd lay down a guitar track, and then we'd put down a bass and sing lyrics, one take, whatever
Okay.
came out of your mouth, because I was like therapy, you know.
Yeah.
And we still do that.
Really.
20 something years later, we're still getting together. Now it's only one day a week. But we have now, like, I think 9. That turned into us writing seriously.
Okay.
And so now we have 9 CDs or whatever.
Wow. No kidding. Are those
Yeah.
available on all
Oh
the
yeah.
platforms?
On iTunes,
Okay.
Papa's Kitchen.
Is
And
it PAPA or POPPA?
POPPA.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your
And
friend
go
Greta
ahead.
your friend Greta Garbo on
Oh,
Facebook.
sure. I know
She
Greta.
said she can't wait to get the newest release. So
Greta's a good woman, Greta.
right on.
And
Wow,
so
nice.
yeah, I never stopped playing music. That's the beauty of it, is you could do it by yourself.
Yeah.
You know, acting you can't.
Right.
Yeah, acting you kind of need an audience to see where you're at. With music, you know, I can sit down at my piano. Even during the pandemic, you know, I have a little Pro Tools and a MacBook, and Steve has the studio at his house. So he'll send me something he wrote, and I'll put down a few tracks and I'll send it back to him, and we can actually still record and work even during the pandemic, you know.
Right
So
on.
yeah, it really.
You still do the one night a week, but just by a Zoom conference or something to.
Well, now I got a long driveway.
Okay.
So about 15 feet, 20 feet apart, and I hook up a couple electric guitars, and he'll come over on Monday,
Okay.
and we'll sit and we'll jam, you know, because
Sweet.
one of the things that I love is the beauty of music for me, and I've been playing it for so many years, is that you never stop learning.
Yeah.
You never stop getting there's, you know what I mean? We jam now once a week just to try and get better.
Yeah.
And you just keep getting better. It's, you know, that's the beauty of music, is that it's like no end to it, you know?
Well, it depends, right? I mean, because you can get stagnant, and if you don't push yourself, it's great that you and Steve have this ability to kind of
Yeah.
feed off each other, right? So
Yeah. I mean, if you want,
yeah,
if you
right.
want to keep pursuing it,
No limits.
you know, there are no limits.
Right.
And you can, you know, I keep learning new things, and I've been playing the guitar since I was, 18 years old in college.
Wow.
And I'm now 63 years old. So however many years that is, and I'm still learning stuff,
Right.
you know?
Do you have a favorite guitarist?
Well, Santana. I love
Okay.
Santana, you know?
Yeah. Nice.
I like a lot of different guys. It's very hard to. The only thing I have a favorite of are drummers.
Really? Okay, yeah. Who's
Yeah.
your favorite drummer?
Well,
Besides me? No, I'm just kidding.
well, you're right up there, buddy.
Yeah,
Let me tell you.
no, come on now. Who?
Well, for jazz, it's definitely Buddy Rich.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I saw him like 5 or 6 times when I was a teenager. You
No
know,
kidding.
oh,
Wow.
I would drive 100 miles to go see him.
Wow.
And then for real rock and roll, it's got to be John Bonham.
Oh.
You know, nobody hits him as strong and fat as that, man, and it just blows me away. And then honestly, my favorite drummer is Ringo.
Yeah.
You
Nice.
know, I think Ringo is he's very melodic.
He is.
He plays the drums very melodically. You know what I mean? Almost in phrases.
He
You
really.
know?
People that don't really study his stuff have no idea how challenging and unique his parts are, right? So if you see a band cover a Beatles tune, he has that tiny swing. There's a lilt to his playing. Yep, that's it. and he was a lefty playing, a standard too, which probably contributed to that, right? But I'm guilty of it, man. But growing up, and I was a Bonham guy all the way, and I just thought I didn't get it. I didn't get the Ringo magic until my son, who's 18 now, really hit me. By 10, he knew all the obscure Beatles stuff and was really trying to show me some of the sort of undervalued songs that they put together. And I'm amazed now by how unique. You mentioned Bonham. You mentioned Bonham. Have you found those releases? They're isolated drum tracks of just Bonham.
I think I have heard a couple of those. Yeah,
it's crazy, man. The engineers release these things that just have him playing, and on "Fool in the Rain," which is one of the most incredible drum groups ever. Right? Yeah. I remember you can hear in the audio recording, you hear Bonham start to count the song in, and he's so hammered that he can't count the song. He starts over again, but then as soon as he hits the downbeat, it's impeccable. It's perfect. And like every nuance, and you can hear him grunting in the mics as he's playing. And there's something so like primal and it's spiritual, man. I mean, that is from his gut. And that's what got me.
Yeah, I think he was an amazing drummer, and really, it when you hear it, you know it. Yeah. You know who it is. He had his style, his sound, it was awesome.
His drumming is what Mike Damone was to Confidence with Women, right? There's nothing tentative about it, nothing, never heard John kind of waltz in and kind of dip his toe in. It was never like that, man. And
he was breaking the skin with every stroke of that stick, man. He wanted to break those skins, and that I just, for rock and roll,
doesn't get better.
That's it. Doesn't get better.
Did you ever see Zeppelin live?
No, I never did.
I didn't either. But you obviously saw Van Halen a bunch, right?
Never.
But when I promoted this event, because it was Alex Van Halen's birthday yesterday, and a buddy of mine said that they always thought that you were like his twin, because you do have a very similar look, man. If you look at side by side, you and Alex actually have
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. But
no, I never saw him. I met him one day. I was in the mall, and I was going up the stairway, up the escalator, and he was coming down the escalator with his wife. She was on that TV show. I forget.
You're talking about Eddie Van Halen.
Oh, Eddie.
Sorry. Valerie Bertinelli, right? Yeah. Okay, yeah.
I was just what struck me was I shook his hand. Was how big his hand was.
Really? Okay.
How big and strong. It was like a fucking sledgehammer. Excuse my language.
No, you can swear.
Like a sledgehammer. And I was like, oh my God, how does he find those notes?
Right.
With that, it was amazing.
Man, well, he put some time into that, working that muscle,
I guess, man. He's an amazing guitar player.
Oh yeah. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Jennifer Batten, right? Jennifer's with Michael Jackson and all the big videos back in the day, big platinum blonde mohawk, and played with Jeff Beck for a long time. And so she moved here to Portland about 16 years ago. I started playing with her here, and we had a conversation like this a couple of weeks ago. she took me to Van Halen when they came through one of the last times, and
Oh, really?
she's known Eddie because she's having to play the Beat It solos, right? You know, so it was interesting to watch him play, and she's kind of like talking to my ear about behind the scenes Eddie stuff. It was really, it's fascinating. And I never met any of the guys in the band, but
yeah.
I would imagine that they've got some stories to tell,
Well, I'll tell you, man, they were, that's an amazing, once again, another amazing band. That's their sound.
Yeah.
When you hear them, you know exactly who it is, man. And they have some classic riffs that what's the one with the teacher?
Hot for Teacher, yeah.
Hot for Teacher. That blows me away, that opening, that drum lick. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you would do that, honestly. I'm sure you could do it. I'm sure you could do it. I know you could do it.
I've not done it well, but here's what I want you to do when you get a chance. Another dear friend who lives right up the street from you there in Hollywood, Glenn Sobel. He plays with Alice Cooper. There's a bunch of videos of him out there. He oftentimes opens his clinics with the Hot for Teacher riff, but Alex would do a combination of the galloping bass drum pieces, but Alex had the toms that he was playing, that polyrhythmic thing over the top. Glenn does that whole intro just with his feet. So if you look, Glenn Sobel, Hot for Teacher, you'll have to check that out. It's insane. And to Glenn, if you're watching out there, say hi to Bob Romanus, and he teaches there at MI as well when he's back.
Oh, really?
But Alice was supposed to be coming through here in Portland about 2 weeks ago, and Glenn actually teaches out of my garage here when he comes through if he has a day off, because I've got one of his old drum kits here, and he doesn't like to be to have time off, right? So when he's out on the road, if they have any time off, he teaches, and so
That's
yeah,
cool,
yeah.
Is it SOBLE?
It's SOBEL.
SOBEL.
Yeah,
Okay.
wicked drummer. Beautiful human being, man. You guys would really hit it off. But there are a couple of Glenn Sobel conversations that we've had. If you go to my site at kevinrankin.com, I'll have your conversation archived up there, and you can see some because Alice and Motley Crue toured together a few years ago, and Tommy Lee actually messed up his hands. Hey, your camera's cutting you off, by the way. There we go.
Sorry, man.
No, it's okay. But Tommy Lee had to bail out on the tour for 5 days, 5 dates. And so Glenn just took over. He'd do the Alice Cooper set, and then he'd do the Motley Crue set. And he was, one of the highlights was during sound check, got to go up and do the roller coaster upside down, playing drums. And as a drummer, you get it, man. That's a whole different ballgame,
That must be, it was my dream. I can't imagine what it would be to just spend your life playing drums,
Right.
Different, it must be a really wonderful life, actually, I know there's a lot of road work. That's not so fun.
Nope.
I'll be honest with you. I've done that,
Yep.
That's not so much fun. But when you're up on stage and you're playing those drums and the music's fine and the audience is digging it, man, it doesn't get much better than that, really,
Does not.
For work.
Yeah, if you can get paid to do that, man, even if you're, I pinch myself every time we go out. Yeah. So you said the Tonight Show, that was like your dream bucket list gig.
Oh, I would love that. Yeah.
How about an acting role? You mentioned that there were some roles that you didn't get. Is there a dream role that you like, if you could have been cast, even if it's something that didn't come your way, but is there a role that you said, man, I wish I had that gig?
Oh, absolutely. Well, as a little kid, one of the first books that really connected with was The Outsiders.
Oh, right.
And I could see myself, I really wanted to be Johnny Boy.
Yeah.
I thought I'd make a really good Johnny Boy in that movie, and but that didn't happen. It came out pretty good, I think Ralph Macchio ended up doing it. Friend of mine, Danny O'Connor. You know Danny O'Connor?
I don't.
Danny's from House of Pain.
Okay. Oh, right.
Danny Boy O'Connor. He bought the Outsiders house in Tulsa where they shot the movie.
Wow.
And the last few years, he's turned it into a museum.
Really? An Outsiders museum?
An Outsiders museum.
Right on.
It's amazing. Because that's where S.E. Hinton lives. She wrote the book. Right. And they're good friends. And so, I've always thought that was That's the only role I can think of that ever since I was young and a young actor, I wanted to be in. I would love to have played that role.
Sure. You know, you don't seem like the kind of person to me that sits around though and laments the fact that that certain thing didn't happen. You seem to be pretty present and grounded where you're at. Are you you feel pretty zen with your?
I am now.
Yeah.
I am now. I mean, but I'm older. I've been through a lot.
Yeah.
I've had it all. I've had everything, tons of money and blah blah blah, and then I've had nothing.
Yeah.
You know, saving up cans to go just get some mac and cheese. So, I can always look back and say, "Yeah, well, this didn't happen and that didn't happen, and Jesus Christ, how come they're there and I'm
Right.
here and blah,
Right. Yeah.
and that doesn't get me anywhere. And I've
Right.
been through it.
You bet.
It's not like I didn't go through it,
Yeah.
but I have been through it. And finally, in the end, I look at my life and I look at my career like an album. It's everything I've done is an album cut. I had a top 10 hit with Fast Times.
Right.
I've had a bunch of B-sides,
Yeah.
and I've had a couple of okay and so I'm still working on that album. And it's the cumulative of my life that I look at, and not the little things that didn't happen, but the cumulative. And I'm 63. I'm still alive. I'm
Yeah.
fairly healthy. I work as an actor once in a while. I also am a teacher. I work with nurses and doctors
Wow.
at the Veterans Hospital and at UCLA.
Okay.
And and I look at the cumulative of my life and I say, Bob, it's not been a bad run.
Yeah, man.
Not a bad run. I got some great kids. So,
That's,
you
that's,
know,
that's a beautiful perspective.
yeah.
I got to ask, man, with that analogy, tell me about a deep cut on that album that really stands out. One of the roles that you played that may not have been a huge hit, but that you're really proud of.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. My greatest roles, my greatest thrills as an actor has always been in class,
Really?
has never been on stage, because, in class, I can pick roles that never going to get cast for. I can do a Southern Tennessee Williams character, but they're not going to cast me as that guy, really,
Okay. Yeah.
So I get to do these great roles, and the beauty of class is that you get to explore and you get to go through the process. The acting to me is a process. That's why auditioning, I'm lousy at it, because I'm always coming home from an audition going, oh, that's what that means,
Right.
But for me, it's a process. I live with it, and in the theater or in class, you rehearse, you work on it, you discover things. That's the beauty of it. Once it's done, I never go back and look at it.
Really?
Yeah, once it's
Yeah.
done, it's done. That's the done is I don't care. It's
Right.
the process that was so much fun, the exploration that was so much fun. And so
Wow.
my greatest roles have been in class, where I could play, you know, roles that, in real life, I get roles a lot like Damone,
Right.
you
You
know,
typecast.
yeah, which is
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Keeps,
I'll do anything really,
it
I'm
keeps you
out,
working.
keeps me working. It pays the bills, it's,
Yeah.
so that's all fine and that's all dandy.
You bet.
But my heart is, in theater and class, because that's where the exploration is. And that to me is the beauty of the art,
Absolutely.
not the finished product.
Yeah. Man, you've got so many sound bites right there. Honestly, man, it just really helps me kind of recognize, again, centered, and just appreciate things on a day-to-day basis, man. I mean, really, it's too easy to trip out about what happened in the past. And for me, too hard to speculate about what's in the future, but I really love being able to embrace the journey. It's a big deal, man.
Yeah.
It's nice to
Embrace the
hear.
journey, man.
Absolutely. Man, what a beautiful thing. How lucky that your kids have that as an inspiration, That's a special thing, man.
Well, if they listen to you, they never,
Yeah.
you know.
What they do is watch. They watch.
Yes,
know,
that's true.
even
I've
if they
always
don't-
thought that modeling is the best way to parent.
That's the truth.
Be
Yeah.
the model, you know.
That's all we can do, man.
Yeah.
I think I would disparage our conversation if I tried to dig more, man. I think this is a really beautiful way to wrap this up on camera, but I really look forward to a future getting to know more about Bob, man. Mr. Romanus, you are a really solid human being. I mean it.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it, man. And I look forward to it too. You know, I look forward to getting back to something considered fairly normal, and maybe we'll all be able to hang out and have a drink, and maybe we'll do that in Cabo.
Yeah, man. That's actually my 50th birthday.
Oh God, no
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah. My plan,
Oh.
Steve, because I couldn't go this last time, and Steve
Yeah.
said, "Well, you'll be there next year." He knew it was my birthday coming up, and he
Oh,
said,
that's fabulous.
"80s in the Sand in Cabo, right?" And it's got Billy Idol, Cheap Trick,
Unbelievable.
Tesla, like so many bands, and it's
Unbelievable.
all inclusive, a week long. It's crazy. If you go to 80sinthesand.com, check it
If you
out.
if you love the 80s, if you love the 80s, this is the perfect thing for you.
Absolutely.
Everybody is so on the same page.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I have such a good time.
It's funny that you mentioned if you love the 80s. The coolest thing about the whole era, and for me, playing in a band that was iconic in the 80s, is that people can put all of their worries behind for a few hours when they go to a show. You know, you don't have to think about pandemics and politics and religion and how, their bosses suck or, their
That's
kids were
right.
challenging. They can just go back to where they were at in 1982 and
That's
think
right.
about watching Fast Times and listening to A Flock of Seagulls and just escape. And for a week, you just get babied and, and pampered, and you get to hang out with bands and people like Bob Romanus and,
And Kevin Rankin,
yeah, well,
Heavy
Kevy Metal.
heavy metal. That's
Yeah,
it.
heavy Kevy works too, but
Heavy metal.
my pandemic belly is getting bigger.
Oh Jesus! You know, I'm watching everybody. They're like, "Oh, I made a cake. I made a pie," and So I said, "Well, I'm going to make a pie. I'm going to make a cake." And I made this beautiful chocolate cake. And I turn around, there's nobody here. I end up eating the whole cake in 2 days.
Oh my God.
So,
well,
you can just roll me out of the house when this is all over.
It's it's emotional eating, right? When things get anxious, you
I
just got to
guess
eat.
so.
Man, well, listen, this has been a hoot. I love it. I'm really, really I'm happy to get to know a little more about Bob Romanus, and thank you for spending the time, buddy.
Fist bump, man.
You got it, amigo. We'll do it again in person, man.
All right, pal.
I'll have this archived. If anybody else wants to stay in touch with Bob Romanus, how do they find you?
I'm on Facebook. You can always get a hold of me there.
Okay.
Under, I guess, under Bob Romanus.
Okay, right on.
Know?
Awesome. And watch for Poppa's Kitchen. You got another record coming
out? Actually, we had one come out actually about 6 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
iTunes.
So, yeah, check it out. That's
Poppa's Kitchen.
That's right.
Okay. Beautiful, man. I can't wait to rock with you, buddy.
All right, brother. I'd like that.
Thank you, pal.
You
Have a great week, man. Stay healthy.
All right, man. You too.
All right.
Bye.
See you, champ.